Joining us now here on the Hill, Morgan Ortagus, former State Department spokesperson, founder of Polaris National Security. She has been to Israel dozens of times, interviewed the Prime Minister earlier this year. Morgan, thanks for being with us once again here on the Hill. Next steps, what do you think that looks like? Let's start with Israel.
Well, I was just listening to Joe's report, and I think that he really hit the nail on the head. It doesn't appear that this administration knows they are in totally different places with our ally, not only with Israel, but by the way, this is a similar situation that happened with Ukraine in the Kursk offensive. What we're finding out is that most of these operations, whether it's Israel and the operations they've conducted in the last 2 weeks, or even Ukraine with the Kursk operation, they did not notify the administration until basically the operation was ongoing. So you have to ask yourself, in both the case of Israel and Ukraine, why do our allies and friends feel like that they cannot share this information with the administration? My analysis would be for a few reasons. One, I think that there's a lot of leaks that come out of the administration. The small ground offensive in Lebanon, for example, when they did tell the administration, was in the media right away. So I think there's a concern about leaks, but I think the broader concern is both the Ukrainians and the Israelis get told no by this administration a lot, and they sort of micromanage their operation from Washington. And I don't think either ally or friend has wanted their war micromanaged by the Biden-Harris administration. That's a really odd place to be in. I can tell you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was just going to ask. So, where do you think the Biden administration goes from here, as you just mentioned them?
I will tell you, I did think that Jake Sullivan's press conference was good today. Obviously, I've had enormous disagreements with the Biden administration over how they've handled Iran policy for 4 years. However, Jake Sullivan, as you noted, said that this was very escalatory from the Iran. They put the onus on Iran. Listen, we can't get used to the fact that in April, similar today, Iran really broke the seal. They crossed the Rubicon. In April, it was the first time that you saw an attack that emanated from inside Iran to inside Israel. That really can't be normalized. Just because we have enormous capability from our U.S. Navy ships in the region, thank God for that. And they have the capability to help Israel shoot this down with Israel's own capabilities, of course. But just because we're good at thwarting what the Iranians tried doesn't negate what the Iranians tried to do. Today, they tried to kill Israeli and American citizens in Israel today. They're specifically attacking inside Israel. This is an act of war. Israel did not attack Iran. Israel went after a designated terrorist group, Hezbollah, and they took out the heads and the leadership of Hezbollah. So this is an unprovoked act of war by Iran. And Jake Sullivan was right whenever he put the onus and the condemnation on Iran. Unfortunately, they have 4 years of bad policies towards Iran, which is the chickens coming home to roost.
Let me leave you with this, Morgan, on the Iranian front. And you mentioned back in April with the drone strikes that were attempted towards Israel. It was that and then
ballistic missiles.
Right. It was that, and then it sort of, I don't want to say went away, but there was that wave, and it was then on to the next thing, sort of the next front in this battle with Iran. And now we saw what we saw earlier today over the skies of Israel for a handful of minutes or so. And I wonder, Morgan, if you think that this was the first of many waves to come, or if it was sort of message sent by Iran, and that's where they leave it.
So it's important to note in in April, after this happened, after that attack was, what some people didn't think was as significant as it could have been for a myriad of reasons. Biden told Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister, quote unquote, to take the win, sort of let it go. Iran made their point. They weren't successful. Let it go. I didn't think that was the proper response that Israel should have taken. But, Bibi's decided to listen to Biden's advice. I would urge him not to do that this time. I don't think that's right. And I don't think that's where the Israelis are. I would be shocked if we don't see a response from Israel within the coming days, within the coming week. I think when they took this action against Hezbollah, they knew it might provoke a response from Iran. And I think they have Iran options ready. And by the way, there's a lot of talk about what could happen. There's a lot of options on the table, but I don't think Israel's going to take the most obvious options if they decide, for example, to go after the Iranian nuclear program. We've seen, especially with the pager bombers and the walkie-talkie bombs, that they have a lot of tricks up their sleeve.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.